Excuse me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the show. I know there's a lot of websites, links, podcasts out there for you to click on, so checking out ours means a whole lot. Talking to Sam Ouhaj today, breaking down the AFC East big board. He does the big board. He's done an incredible job with it, so we talked to him a little bit about what we can expect from the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots, and who is going to make the biggest splash in this year's draft. Here he is. All right, on the phone line right now, we have Sam Ouhaj talking to us about the AFC East and his big board, his mock draft. Sam, what is up? How's things going?
Things are going great. I had a very great, interesting weekend. How about yourself?
It's going good. All right, so let's talk about this because there's a couple teams already who I think are going to be making some moves going into this draft. The Miami Dolphins, of course, are the team that I think everybody has their eyes on, with Tua being on the board potentially at number 5. Talk to us through what you're expecting out of the first round from the AFC East.
Okay, now I don't want to jump crazy right at the beginning, but this is how we do it here. So, you know how Joe Burrow has been coming out stating that he doesn't really want to play in Cincinnati?
It's been mentioned, yeah.
What if the Dolphins trade up with the Bengals and they take Joe Burrow number 1 overall? I mean, they have the 3 first-round picks to do it, and it's been said that the Miami Dolphins like Joe Burrow more than Tua, but that's hypothetical. I don't want to sound too crazy, but think about it, right? What if Joe Burrow ended up in Miami instead of Cincinnati?
Here's the thing about that. Do we know that Joe Burrow? Are we sure that Joe Burrow is going to be better in Cincinnati than he would be in Miami? Like, I don't know. I think both of the situations are kind of rough for him, and especially if they do trade those first round picks, and now they can't get an offensive line guy in the first round. I don't know. I don't love Miami moving up to get Burrow. What do you think?
I don't like the move either, but I just feel like that if Burrow is going to come out and pull Eli Manning with the San Diego Chargers and say that he don't want to play and he want to go to the Giants, maybe we could see something like that happen. And Tua goes to the Bengals, even though no one wants to go to the Bengals. It's probably even worse than going to the Browns a couple of years ago. I remember when
you
that was
think
such
so?
a laughing stock. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'd want to go into a situation like that in Cincinnati. You have an owner who's really cheap. You have A.J. Green, who's always injured. You have a great running back in Joe Mixon, but you have a terrible offensive line. Your defense is shaky, and you don't know how good Zach Taylor is as a coach. There's a lot of liability coming into the Bengals. But, I mean, personally, I would like the Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati because he's obviously an Ohio native, and I always like those stories where they return to their hometown and they make it big and, like, they try to do something for a terrible franchise. But
so
it's just a terrible situation.
I was going to say the other thing that we're not completely sure of is that are we sure Miami is going to be able to get Tua at 5, especially with the Chargers saying goodbye to Phillip Rivers earlier these past couple weeks. It seems like the Chargers are in the market for a quarterback too. Of course, we know Miami thinks that they need a quarterback, even though they had Fitzmagic this year and it worked out really well for them. I think that they need a quarterback too. Are you worried in any way that the Chargers at 3 are going to get a quarterback before Miami does?
No, and hear me out, because I feel like the Chargers already have their guy, and they're keeping it really low-key, and they're throwing a lot of smoke screens. I personally think Justin Herbert from Oregon is a lot better than Tua. Call me crazy. I think he has all the tools you need to be a great NFL quarterback, and I feel like that's their guy, so they might be throwing screens that they're going to take Tua and throw Miami off. But and that's another thing, too. Maybe we see Justin Herbert go number 1 overall instead for the Bengals, obviously, if Joe Burrow keeps throwing a protest about it. He's really underrated, in my opinion. I mean, he was a Senior Bowl MVP. He looked really good in front of scouts, and I'm excited to see his combine next week. But I honestly, I don't think that the Chargers or the Dolphins have anything to worry about. I think they both know their guys respectively. It's just a lot of smoke screens trying to get drafts and trying to get value. But also, too, the Detroit Lions hold a lot over all those teams below them in the draft because they're picking number 3, and they could say, oh, we're going to draft a quarterback and replace Matt Stafford, and everyone's going to start freaking out. and trying to trade, kind of what we saw with the Bears and the 49ers when the Bears moved up one spot and traded away a second-round pick and another pick just to select Mitch Trubisky, and that was an awful turn of events. I mean, it would have made sense if they traded for Patrick Mahomes, but here we are talking about Mitch Trubisky being the third worst quarterback in that draft class, let alone because you could have picked Watson or Mahomes at number 2, but you made that idiotic move. So I feel like that's kind of something similar we might see this year with Detroit and them trying to get people to move up, because at the end of the day, it's all about your franchise and making the best possible move.
I don't know if we want to do this here, but we can. Are we I think that every year that we have a 3 quarterback race, like we've had it before in the past with Baker and Darnold and Rosen, and clearly that hasn't shaken out the way that I think a lot of people thought it would. But in this draft class as well, I don't think that you can. I think that you can't overthink things. I think that you just need to go off of like what the tape you have, what you can see, and I think that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in this draft class, just on the tape that we've seen. But if Herbert goes number 1 overall, or you see Tua slide out of that top 3 quarterbacks taken, somebody made a mistake in the scouting department, I think.
I would definitely agree with you. I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in this year's draft class. I don't think it gets any better than him. I mean, if you read the NFL scouting report right now on him for the upcoming combine, his NFL comparison is Kurt Warner. So, I mean, that's a pretty high ceiling to be named to, especially since last year. I couldn't even tell. Kyler Murray was picked, but, I mean, his pro comparison was nothing spectacular. So, I mean, I think Joe Burrow is a lot better than Kyler Murray, and I think Joe Burrow is a lot better than Baker Mayfield. But also, too, it just goes to see what happens in the NFL. Obviously, Burrow is a little bit of a shaky candidate in his name, but I just like how he positions himself, where he puts himself at, how he's on and off the field. Like, he's a great quarterback to build your franchise around, but you can't really say that this person's going to be Kurt Warner or an all-pro level quarterback and they haven't set foot on an NFL field yet, because a lot of things can change in the span of 6 months.
Or what can you tell me about the defensive players that might be selected in this upcoming draft, especially for AFC East teams?
Okay, so with the AFC East teams, let's see. The Patriots, they're probably going to take a quarterback if Tom Brady isn't signed back. But if not, I have them taking Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU. He's good, but I'm not too high on him like everyone else is. I just don't like the way he plays, and I know he was injured with an ankle injury this year. I think Xavier McKinney is a lot better than Delpit, and I think that McKinney is going to be a better NFL player than Delpit, but we'll see how that ends up. And with the Jets, they're probably going to take an offensive lineman this year, Mekhi Becton from Louisville. He's supposed to be great at offensive tackle, but I'm not too sure. It's the Jets. I mean, they're the laughing stock of all of my friends' jokes and where we're from in New York, because, I mean, they're just such a terrible franchise. I feel really bad for the Jets fans, because it feels like every year they say, oh, this is our year, and then it's just they absolutely fall flat on their face. But I'll tell you something, and I hate telling this story to people. I went to the Jets game this year when they played the Dallas Cowboys, and obviously the Cowboys lost to the Jets. And, man, they acted like they won the Super Bowl. It was absolutely nuts. It was awful, absolutely awful. I was sitting right in the end zone when the 2-point conversion failed to tie the game, and I was in absolute shock that the Dallas Cowboys lost to the New York Jets. I mean, the Jets fans were going absolute crazy. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. The Jets.
All right, so let's talk about the Patriots a little bit. So you think that they're going to take a quarterback with their first-round pick. They have the 26th pick in the draft in that first round. I think that they're going to be looking for a tight end, because they need to get a guy to replace Gronkowski's production. They haven't been able to find that guy this year. They're going to figure out a way to plug that hole. It's the Patriots. What do you think of like that idea, that they're going to go get an offensive weapon for Brady in that first round?
I think that's the only way Tom Brady stays, is if they get an offensive weapon. I mean, you saw it. He was absolutely pissed at what his wide receivers gave him this year and what Belichick and the whole team assembled for him. I mean, I get it. Brady's getting up there in age, but if you have Julian Edelman as your number one wide receiver, it's really hard to be dominant on offense, especially with no Gronk. And obviously Antonio Brown was there for a game, and then he went on his whole fiasco, and Josh Gordon got cut and suspended. So it didn't really help when you're throwing to 3 no-name practice wide receiver guys and Julian Edelman. So I definitely agree that they're going to go out and make a splash in the draft and get a great wide receiver, a great tight end. I mean, this wide receiver draft class this year is absolutely loaded. Like, you're going to get a first-round talent in the 3rd round. That's how many great wide receivers there are this year, and I don't think we've seen it in a while with the thing. But honestly, the 2 easiest positions to play in the NFL are running back and wide receiver, and you could plug them in anywhere, and they'll instantly make an impact. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, that's interesting because the Patriots are notoriously terrible at drafting running backs and wide receivers. So I think that's kind of funny that the easiest position you would think to get a guy for, they have Sony Michel and N'Keal Harry as their 2 premier offensive weapons.
Yeah, N'Keal Harry, he was – I don't know how he had a first-round grade on him. I feel like he definitely could have fallen later in the draft, especially since DK Metcalf went in the 2nd round. So it makes you think that maybe that the Patriots whiffed on that one. But I also feel like when you talk to Bill Belichick and all them, he's not – I feel like he's just more focused on – I mean, he's the best NFL coach I've seen in my lifetime personally, but I feel like he's more focused on the defensive side, but they got to get it together or something. But I mean, I have the Patriots taking I have them taking Grant Delpit, but in other drafts that I've done, I have the Patriots taking T. Higgins out of Clemson. He's a great wide receiver. He played really well in the national championship game. So they just need that young rookie receiver to go with Brady and absolutely learn the ropes. So when it is Brady's time to retire, they already have a 5-star wide receiver who's ready to come in with a new quarterback and be absolutely dominant.
Now, what do you think of the rumors that the Patriots get rid of this first-round pick and maybe a future first-round pick, go get guys like A.J. Green or Hunter Henry out of LA now, from the Chargers? Do you expect that to happen?
I don't think that they're going to – Bill Belichick is going to try to finesse the Bengals absolutely any which way he possibly can, but he kind of overpaid a little bit this year with Mohamed Sanu in the 2nd-round pick. I thought that was kind of strange that Belichick went out and did that, especially since Sanu didn't do really that much with the Patriots. So, I mean, we could see him trade a first-round pick for the Bengals, but given A.J. Green's injury history, I feel like that's going to be a big talking point when they're coming up in the trade talks for Green. But Hunter Henry's a free agent, and he might consider signing with the Patriots. But then again, actually, that's probably the best bet for the New England Patriots is to go out and get Hunter Henry, or they could go sign Eric Ebron. Everyone sleeps on Ebron, but I mean, when he had a great quarterback with Andrew Luck, he led the league in touchdowns. So we could see the Patriots do that.
We just got done talking about the Jets a little bit more, too, where we said that we think they're going to probably go for an offensive lineman, which makes sense. You have a franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold. You want to keep him upright. What about the Bills, who were a quarter away from making it to the divisional round this year in the playoffs? They felt like the team that everything is kind of clicking. The defense is pretty good. The offense is okay. What are you expecting from the Bills in this year's draft?
The Bills, they kind of need a lot of help, to be honest with you. I know that they were a playoff team and they went 10-6 and they were a quarter away, but if you think about it, Josh Allen still needs more time to develop. I'm not really sold on him. I mean, he showed flashes of being great, but he's a better runner than he is a thrower currently in the NFL, and there is time to improve on that. But they need another wide receiver to pair with John Brown and Cole Beasley and Reuben Foster not Reuben Foster, excuse me. I don't even know his name, to be quite honest with you, but that just shows you like all the Bills wide receivers that are good, because it's only Beasley and John Brown, and John Brown's a speedster and Cole Beasley's a slot receiver, so they definitely should take a wide receiver, I feel like, this year to pair with Josh Allen. But if that's not the case, they do need another defensive player, because Shaq Lawson is getting up there in age. Obviously, a couple players on the Bills are retiring or entering free agency this year, so they got to do something, the Bills. They just had a great year. You know when your team has like an outlier year and you're just like, how did they get to the playoffs this year? And you like look at their schedule and how they played. That's kind of what the Bills did. They were similar in a sense to the Dallas Cowboys, but they obviously whooped the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving and proved that they're good enough to compete in the playoffs. So props to them, but I feel like this is one of those years where they just had a great, easy schedule and they made it to the playoffs. And obviously you saw what happened in the last quarter when everything unfolded.
So let's talk about Terrell Lewis, who, coming out of Alabama, he's an edge rusher. He's right now projected to fall all the way down to Seattle at 27, but he's another guy where I think that if the Bills got a good edge rusher, somebody that can really pressure the quarterback, that is the type of player that I think they need on this defense. Because in the playoffs with Deshaun Watson, there was a bunch of plays where they were able to get in the backfield and force him to move around, and then he just did what he does. He's a magic man. But against other quarterbacks, you might get a little bit more success. Now, I don't know how that's going to work with Patty and Deshaun and Lamar going forward, but I do think an edge rusher for the Bills makes the most sense.
I would definitely agree with you on that, but it wouldn't. That's why I'm saying, too, I know I keep saying that the Bills should draft a wide receiver, but honestly, they don't even need to get a wide receiver until the third round. This draft class this year for a wide receiver is absolutely ridiculous. You could name 5 wide receivers right now who are first-round talents, and they're going to go in the second round. I mean, think about it, right? Your top 5 wide receivers this year are Judy, Sheetnall, Ruggs, Lamb, and T. Higgins. Those are your top 5 wide receivers already, but you also have Justin Jefferson, who's really good. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones. You have all these talented wide receivers, so you don't have to waste a first-round pick this year on a wide receiver to have someone make impact, which I really like.
Who do you think is going to make the biggest move out of the AFC East teams in this year's playoffs? Is it going to be the Dolphins, do you think?
I think it might be the Patriots. I really do. I feel like when's the last time you've heard this whole Tom Brady narrative has been driving the offseason a lot so far. And I feel like if Tom Brady says, all right, I'm not coming back to the New England Patriots, I'm going to the Chargers or I'm going here, it's going to cause absolute chaos in New England, and they're going to make some pretty big moves. It's already set. I wouldn't be surprised. They said that the backup trade for right now is for Andy Dalton to the Patriots, which would be really interesting because do I think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback? No. But do I think he's all right? Yeah. But that would be interesting. Imagine you saw the Patriots trade in a first-round pick and a second-round pick for Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. That'd be a really interesting thing to see.
Sam, next week we're going to talk AFC South. We're going to break it down with you for then. Thanks so much for coming on with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. We'll have to talk too about the combine coming up because it starts next Sunday.
Yeah, of course. We'll break that down too. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you so much to the Wonder Kid, Sam Ouhaj, for coming on. Thank you for you guys for listening. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to break down the AFC South next week. A lot of great content coming out right now. If you haven't listened to it already, it's out for your consumption. I talk about the Astros scandal. I know it's part 2. We've done a little bit of the Astros scandal with Parker Ray right when the news broke. I come back in and I do a little bit more of an update. What can we expect going forward? And of course, I have been putting in the time and the work to get you the best preview baseball podcast series out there. So we're going to be talking about baseball in the next couple weeks. The plan is to put one out on Monday and Friday. There are going to be about 8 baseball episodes. They're going to come out Mondays and Fridays, going all the way up to opening day, because we're about 4 weeks out from opening day. So I'm very excited for that. Very excited for you guys to get to hear some of that, because it's been a lot of work, an effort of love, and I'm very excited for it. So thank you for listening. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.